I went to the Harvey House in Waynoka, Oklahoma, home to the fascinating Air and Rail Museum. I learned that Waynoka was such an important town that Charles Lindbergh, Amelia Earhart, Will Rogers, and other famous people were frequent visitors. The Santa Fe Railroad constructed the largest rail yards, and one of the first airlines built an enormous hangar in Waynoka. You're probably wondering, what is a Harvey House, and why was this little remote town such a big deal? Stick with me, and I'll share everything I learned about Waynoka, the Wild West town that connected America. 60 million years ago, Waynoka didn't exist because humans weren't invented yet and it was under an ocean. Fast forward to 1887 and Waynoka still didn't exist, but the ocean had long receded, leaving behind rugged badlands, gypsum cat mesas, golden sand dunes, and rolling sage hills. The perfect setting for a Wild West town, and things were about to change. The railway tycoons wanted to build a train through Northwest Indian Territory, but the Cherokee Nation, which owned the land, said, hard no. Why not? Because we have a treaty and we say you can't. Your treaty is null and void since you supported the Confederates in the Civil War. Men quickly got to work laying miles of iron atop wooden ties, presumably creating a great deal of racket. Soon, steam trains rumbled across the red earth badlands of Northwest Oklahoma in railroad towns, including Keystone, which was quickly renamed to Waynoka, popped up like mushrooms after a rain. A few years later, the government told the Cherokee to get foe and opened up the area to white settlers who raced in to claim the land. As a result, Waynoka quickly grew from a humble rail outpost to a farming and ranching center. In 1907, Oklahoma graduated from a territory to a state, and Waynoka hit a growth spurt just as she reached drinking age. In 1908, the Santa Fe Railroad made Waynoka a division point, built Oklahoma's largest rail yards, and workers flocked to Waynoka. The rail yards operated 24 hours a day and employed over 1,000 mechanics, conductors, brakemen, prostitutes, engineers, and firemen. Santa Fe erected a 16-bay roundhouse, repair shops, a depot, and an ice plant capable of making 241 tons of ice each day to keep seafood, beef, produce, and hobos nice and cool on their cross-country journey. Most importantly, they built a beautiful Harvey House, which attracted the most treasured commodity in the Wild West: single ladies. Back in the day, Fred Harvey, an entrepreneur who struggled with buttons apparently, saw an opportunity to cater to coastal elites as they traveled across #Real America on the rails, decades before they could soar overhead in an airplane and derisively call it flyover country. Harvey created the Harvey Houses, a series of restaurants and railroad hotels for weary travelers. Before Harvey, there were no clean hotels out west, only saloons or public rooms you shared with unwashed swagmen and surly outlaws. Harvey Houses were an oasis of luxury in the Wild West, and their key to their success was the Harvey Girls. Harvey placed ads in Eastern and Midwestern newspapers that read, "Wanted, young women of good character, attractive and intelligent, 18 to 30 years of age as waitresses in Harvey eating houses in the West, good wages with room and meals furnished." He imported so many eligible bachelorettes to the desert Southwest that the Smithsonian magazine quipped, "Fred Harvey made the desert bloom with beefsteak and pretty girls." But this was the 1900s, so the thorn in the rose was racism. Only white women were hired as Harvey Girls, although male and female minorities could work in jobs behind the scenes. Harvey Girls trained for prompt and courteous service, so they could serve hundreds of passengers in about 20 minutes, the average time a train would need for servicing. The combination of high-quality food, served in a fine dining atmosphere with imported linen, china, and silver, created a distinctive contrast to the typical eating establishments in turn-of-the-century small towns, where sometimes horses were in the restaurant, not on the menu, just in the saloon eating with you. One reason for the Harvey House's success was their ability to serve fresh meat, seafood, and produce at remote locations across the Southwest, since the trains delivered beef from Kansas City and seafood and produce from California year-round. Fred Harvey invented the first chain restaurants in America, so every time you eat a week's worth of calories in one meal at a place like TGI Fridays, pour one out for the godfather of franchise feasts. In 1946, Hollywood made a movie called The Harvey Girls. The musical featured Julie Garland and Angela Lansbury. It naturally created an idealized version of the West. MGM marketed the movie as a gay and lusty musical romance, a phrase that is punishable by a lengthy jail term if uttered in an Oklahoma schoolhouse today. In the 1920s, the sexy rail yards and pretty Harvey House caught the eye of another group of pioneers, aviators. Back in the day, planes couldn't fly at night, so a company called Transcontinental Air Transport, which is pretty hard to say, so we're just going to call it TAT from now on, decided to use a combination of rail and air service to take passengers coast to coast in 48 hours, and Waynoka had a starring role in their grand scheme. Passengers started the journey with an overnight train from New York to Columbus, Ohio. From there, they boarded a plane and hopped through the Midwest, landing every 350 miles to refuel. Eventually, they arrived in Waynoka. After freshening up at the Harvey house, passengers took an overnight train to Clovis, New Mexico. The next day, they hopped through the desert Southwest before finally reaching Glendale, California, where they deplaned and presumably kissed the ground, because air travel back then was an ordeal. The passengers endured bumpy flights and wild temperature variations in the unpressurized cabins, all while being serenaded by the engine's roar. They would often get airsick and sometimes pass out. TAT tried to make the experience as comfortable as possible, with amenities such as meals by Fred Harvey, ashtrays, and maps of the natural wonders along the route. To support the operation, TAT built the third largest hangar in America in Waynoka, and Charles Lindbergh and Amelia Earhart were officers in the company and became familiar faces in town. Okay, yes, it was that Charles Lindbergh, but this was before he became a white supremacist, so it was really cool that he visited. TAT operated the cross-country rail train combo for 1 year before it shut down due to 2 serious crashes. 2 months after the inaugural flight, TAT crashed a plane in Mount Taylor between Albuquerque and Winslow. The crash grabbed media attention nationwide, not in a good way. Surprisingly, headlines such as "Airliner Found in Ashes" didn't boost sales. The next month, the stock market crash of 1929 brought down the economy, and the ensuing Great Depression dampened the tour and travelism market. Moreover, technological advances allowed planes to fly at night, making the air-rail combo obsolete. The significance of TAT's transcontinental air journeys was so important, they have a display in the Smithsonian today. Charles Lindbergh was Nazi-like, but in the 1940s, legit Nazis came to town. Since American men were off fighting the war, the Army brought German POWs to Waynoka to man the Santa Fe Railroad's ice factory. I imagine that going from the trenches to the rail yard was a welcome respite for the soldiers, especially if they got a glimpse of a gay and lusty Harvey girl. After the war, the locals returned, and Waynoka reached its peak of 2,018 residents in the 1950 census, and then the exodus began. By 1960, diesel trains replaced older steam engines, allowing trains to travel further between stops, and refrigerated rail cars made the ice factory obsolete. Eventually, Santa Fe moved the rail hub, which led to Waynoka's steady decline. Only about 700 people live in Waynoka today, but the train still plays a vital role in the community. The Harvey House hosts the Waynoka Air and Rail Museum, the high school mascot is the Railroaders, and 50 to 100 trains rumble through town each day, shaking the buildings like a fracking-induced earthquake. Downtown Waynoka has beautiful historical buildings, a cute library, and a rock shop full of treasures. Although it's pretty chill nowadays, the streets come alive several times each year. The nearby Little Sahara State Park frequently hosts noisy ATV festivals, and the Waynoka Rattlesnake Hunt brings a raucous crowd to town. These events help the town support several great restaurants and bars, like the German restaurant called Cafe Bahnhof, which means train station. But if you visit Waynoka outside these festivals, you'll find a quiet, friendly little town filled with history. And if you come to Waynoka, you gotta set aside time to visit the 5 state parks surrounding the town. The area around Waynoka is stunningly beautiful and one of the most geographically diverse areas in the plains. And wouldn't you know it, I happened to make a video about it one time, which you can watch right here.